Alright, so as I promised in my previous video, I'm going to do a little bit more frequent reviews for the Bad Batch because I need to catch up. So here we are. I'm reviewing episode 9 today called Bounty Lost. So with episode 8, I had a very unique thing happen, which was I really liked the episode. The first episode I actually really liked in this season so far. So the question is, can episode 9 continue that? Let's find out. So this episode just starts right where the last one left off. The Bad Batch is being chased by Crosshair. They're getting into space, and they need to make the jump to hyperspace. And I'm just so happy that it continues, that it is an arc instead of those singular episodes. So that's already just a good thing, that it just continues with an episode that I really like. Of course, they manage to jump, and then we cut to the Justifier, Cat Bane's ship, which is still one of the most overpriced Lego sets ever. I know I'm going to go into a little bit of a tangent right now about Lego. This is not a knock on the show at all. This is definitely a knock on Lego because thing is, a couple of years ago when this episode released, we had the Justifier Lego set based on Cat Bane's ship as we see it in this episode. Now, this set has about 1,000 pieces, and usually with about 1,000 pieces you would expect the Lego set to be about $100 or something. It can be a little bit more because there are like rights of the franchise and maybe some cool minifigures and playability features, but then you get something like this AT-AT, a little bit over 1,000 pieces, and you have a set that is like $120, $130. No. None of that was the Justifier. The Justifier was $170. It was like 150% of what it should be. I cannot fathom that they decided to go with that, So I'm just a little baffled by the fact that Lego sometimes just makes such expensive sets when I'm just like, who's going to pay that amount of money for it? Because I sure didn't. I did not get that set. I just needed a moment to rant about that because I'm just still baffled that it was so expensive initially. Anyway, I digress. Back to the episode where Toto and Bane introduce themselves to Omega, and of course we see that Toto is still in need of fixing his leg. But Bane doesn't want to do that because Bane is more interested in contacting the Kaminoans and making sure he gets paid because, of course, he does have Omega alive. And yeah, we see that Nala Se actually volunteers to go, and Lama Su's like, no, we're going to send Ton Wee because, as I mentioned in my previous review, we are now seeing that Lama Su and Nala Se definitely have different ideas for Omega, and Lama Su at one point even says like, oh, we'll just extract the DNA and then kill her. Jeez, harsh. But yeah, Nala Se wants none of that, and that's why she actually wants to go. But no, they're going to send Ton Wee. Poor Ton Wee, she deserved better. And to my surprise, Ton Wee gets sent to a planet that has never appeared in anything Star Wars before. It's a new planet. For the first time this entire season, I feel like we're on a new planet because, as I have said in so many other episodes, like every time we go to a planet, it's one that we already know, that we've heard before. No. For a change, no. And I was seriously surprised by the lack of member berries in this episode.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
As Palpatine said, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one, because honestly, like, wow, I'm shocked, actually. Like, I honestly just feel like a bit empty, like, where are my member bearers? But hey, to be fair, I had a couple of really good ones in the last one, so I am completely fine with there not being much member berries in this specific episode whatsoever. I do want to say, though, this episode does make me question the entire cloning process, because the thing is, like, Jango Fett apparently was cloned so many times for all the clones, and all of them are male. And he got an altered clone who was also male. So in everything leading up to this, we have only known clones to be male, because that would make sense, right? If you make a clone, that clone would look exactly like the original specimen. So Omega, being a female, looking quite different from how the clones look, is does cloning work like that? Like, of course, I'm no expert on cloning, so I don't know, but I seriously doubt it works like that. So that was just a bit of a head scratcher, honestly. Of course, Omega is trying to get out of there, and she sees an opportunity by fixing Toto's leg. But of course, she does fix the leg, first of all. She does make sure that his leg is as good as new, because she's nice. But then, of course, she does take advantage of him. And, I think that was a good and smart way to convince him. Of course, Toto has never been the brightest droid and has been a bit trusting, so that's why this happens. So yeah, of course, Omega gets out of there. She gets her comm device. She runs away up until the point that she stops running and Cat Bane is just able to catch up with her. There are just times in this episode where I get a bit pissed off by the fact that logically people should do something and they don't. All hell breaks loose, essentially. Like, Omega manages to contact the badge, but Bane finds her, destroys her comm device. Fennec Shand then shows up, having killed Taun We. We never even saw Taun We entering there or anything. Okay. It's also interesting that Toto only detected one other ship when there are two people who I think had two ships, because Fennec has her own and Taun We had her own. But no, we're not going to question that, because, as I said, we're not going to question logic when all hell is breaking loose. But these are the things when I'm just watching these scenes, and this is what I'm thinking about. Like, really? Okay. And then, well, Toto gets a blast right in his face, but because he has the little case with credits that protects him, I suppose, whatever. And if Bane was literally doing the face-off with Hunter in the previous episode and was able to beat him, he should be able to do the same with Fennec, but he kind of misses. And there are several times that he shoots at her and he just completely misses her, and I'm like, dude, I thought you were a good shot. But again, unfortunately, this show has these moments where characters need to do certain things because of the script to happen, rather than them actually being able to do stuff as they should. What is cool, though, is that while all shit is going on, Omega manages to find Snoke's point of origin. I mean, well, yeah, actually, it kind of looks like Snoke's point of origin, or at least like the beginnings of Snoke in some way. Either that or the cloning facility from Alien Resurrection. But all jokes aside, honestly, this is a sort of a fascinating storyline that I thought was going to go somewhere in season 2, and even season 2 only teases a little bit more, but we're not fully there yet, because the entire cloning thing and the people working on it in season 2 is really fascinating, but we don't really fully get into it. And this is really why I'm excited about season 3, because that storyline about the cloning and everything, that is going to be something in season 3, especially now that they have Omega there. Oh my god, could we see the origins of Snoke? Like, it might have been a joke before, but it's not now. I'm serious. I think this might be the origin of Snoke in some way, shape, or form. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see, of course, but I do think that it's going to be something. It's going to be fascinating, and it might actually tie into some of the stuff that we saw in Heir to the Empire. I shouldn't say saw, I should say read about. Like, the original Thrawn trilogy has like a mountain on Wayland where they have a big cloning facility, which actually looks like what we see in season 2. And that's a very popular fan theory. So I'm curious, like, is that going to be something? Of course, I'm only here with episode 9 of season 1, and we are not even close to being there yet. But I know that it's going to come, and I just want to talk about it a little bit. And I do think, like, when we saw this, that all of that I'm talking about could be possible, and it seems to be possible still. So this is a truly fascinating storyline that I'm actually very excited about. So Omega manages to line the dish so that the bats can find her, and Fennec manages to incapacitate Bane. And then Fennec does something that I really, really hate about characters in movies and TV, a specific trope that they do, which is not saying what you should say to a character, because there are so many times in movies and TV shows that a character is being cryptic and is not saying the full truth for the sake of the script, because we need to have it later on revealed. We can't just have the entire exposition dump right now. And I'm like, no, please have the entire exposition dump right now, because I want Fennec to tell her about why she killed Tanwi, what the issue is with Lama Su, why she's actually working for Nala Se. All of that, if she just explains that, could maybe convince Omega to her point of view, to make sure, okay, that she can trust her. Because, of course, Omega can still, after all of that, choose to not trust her. But the cryptic bullshit that she gives her with this...
What the Prime Minister has planned for you is far worse than why I'm here.
Yeah, whenever a character says that, I'm like, oh, shut up and just say what you want to say what you should say. But they want to keep it cryptic, they want to keep it vague, they don't want to tell Omega everything yet for the sake of the script. So, of course, Omega doesn't trust her, and she just runs away. Like, she gets away by dropping a clone on Fennec. Of course, in the meantime, Bane recovered, because that has to happen, and Fennec is right there as well. So, Bane and Fennec fight, because of course they do. Omega uses Toto, though, to get onto the pod, which I think is smart for Omega to do. It's a little bit dangerous, but it worked out, of course. And she manages to get away, and then when her pod crashes, it just instantly crashes into the Bad Batch. Like, oh, they're right there. Because, of course, at this point, we have passed the 20-minute mark of the episode, and we kind of need to wrap things up. I feel like this is a little rushed, but I'll forgive it because I thought the rest of the episode was interesting enough. The rest of the arc was good enough, so I'll forgive it, but it does feel a little bit rushed. Fennec, of course, gets the better of Bane, and she manages to sabotage his ship, so he's really pissed off. He does not have the bounty, he does not have his credits, it's all for nothing, and yeah, Bane is pissed, but nothing he can do, really. Fennec then contacts Nala Se, and she says, well, I found her, if you want her, then you need to pay more, but she is with the clones, and Nala Se is like, that's good enough. Nala Se understands that these clones will protect her and keep Omega alive, so that's okay, and maybe we'll deal with it later, as long as she's not in the hands of Lama Su. That is definitely her main concern. Heck, even Hunter promises Omega never to return to Kamino, so when he said that, I was like, we are definitely going back to Kamino. Of course we are. But that is episode 9, Bounty Lost. Maybe it's not as good as the previous episode, but I do think it was still a pretty good and interesting episode. And when I said, it sets up a storyline that is truly fascinating that I cannot wait to talk about more when we get to season 3, actually. So that is really a reason that I need to catch up on these reviews so that I make sure that by the time season 3 comes out, I have done all my reviews and then I can just talk about season 3, because I am getting excited for it, especially having rewatched this episode just now. I was like, oh yeah, that is definitely going to be an important thing. But that's all I have to say about this episode, and now I just wonder, what do you think? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure that you check out our LEGO live streams that we do over on Nico's Twitch channel. I will link it in the description below. Of course, I'm still building this beauty over here. We're not entirely sure when we're going to continue that. And of course, this one does look quite finished. I have a couple of more sets as well after this, which I made a YouTube community post about. So check that out, the post and the link for Nico's Twitch channel, so that you know when we're going to go live next. And of course, you can watch back the streams we already did to see how this became as it became up until this point. So there's that. Also, if you want to know when we go live, I usually post that on my YouTube community. So subscribe to my channel if you want to see that. And of course, for more Star Wars content, also follow me on the other social media where I also post stuff regularly. And with that said, up until my next video, may the Force be with you.